At a peaceful service stop outside a young attendant in the city is occupied with cleaning the pumps as a rich man arrives. His stylish clothes and sleek sports vehicle. His irritated manner conveys his perception of conceit as the attendant provides to assist the man in dismissing him. Complaining about this standards. Be close to a man who is dressed casually. Refuels his small motorbike while observing. As the scene plays out, he appears modest. Quiet manner and simple attire, however there's something appealing about his composure. The wealthy man attracts attention of him and is that even legal on the street? Sneer loud enough to be heard by everybody. The silent man smiles a little, deciding not to engage. The wealthy man is unaware of Keanu Reeves is the stranger he is making fun of. A worldwide superstar renowned for his modesty and generosity. What comes next will depart. Everyone was stunned at the petrol station, as one unanticipated act of kindness completely changes the narrative. It was a sunny afternoon, the type of day when caused many to rush through their errands. Peaceful petrol station perched on the rim of a busy road that its staff members are traveling with, relaxed while attending to the few. Among them, automobiles waited in queue at the pumps. Mike, a youthful attendant, worked. He grinned assiduously in spite of the heat, courteously towards each and every client, even when a loud engine roared, they ignored him. Entering the station and capturing everyone's observe a sporty black automobile abruptly approached one of the pumps, its lustrous exterior shimmering in a man sat behind the wheel in the sunlight, wearing a fitted suit in his late 40s. With high-end eyewear, his manner exuded assurance nearly to the point of conceit. The man scarcely left the house, observing the attendant when he yelled. Mike rushed over to make it quick with premium, sponging his hands on his. Of course, sir, would you prefer me in uniform? While you wait, have your windscreen cleaned. The man's lips lifted an eyebrow, smiling and curling up. Do I appear to? Just concentrate on the petrol if you need a car wash. Honestly, Mike, standards these days. Reddened but silently nodded and continued. When filling up the tank, a man on a battered motorbike was dragged into the pump. His arrival was next to the sports car, and almost imperceptible, but his calm presence contrasted sharply with the noisy manner of the rich man. The rider had on a simple black jacket. His hair was tucked below his pants. He slowly dismounted, taking off his ears. Helmet to display a well-known face. Nevertheless, most people wouldn't immediately recognize him. Keanu Reeves was blending in perfectly. As he fueled his bike, he entered the site, moved with effortless grace and nodded courteously to Mike since he worked for the wealthy man but was unable to withstand. Now, that's a sight, he remarked, loudly indicating Keanu's. What is that 20-year-old motorbike? You're in a better position. Keanu looked up at his face as he walked. Serene and illegible, but it gets me to my destination. He spoke plainly in a steady, compassionate voice. The man chuckled and shook his head. Perhaps if you put forth a bit more effort, you could afford a good item, but everyone can make ends meet using hand-me-downs. Mike's hands went cold, firmly clutching the pump as he looked. Keanu was anxious between the two men, but remained unconcerned. He provided the man a tiny smile, as though to convey that he wasn't accepting the insult. For myself, I discovered that what I bike is less important than where I am moving, Keanu said in a tone that even the The wealthy man rolled his eyes and said, "Someone who has never actually owned an automobile, you most likely have no idea what luxury is." Seems to. Several other clients had already taken awareness of the conversation. Some whispered, stealing looks amongst each other at. Keanu appears to be attempting to locate his. Mike's face, silently detecting the strain, completed filling the tank of the sports vehicle, and gave his receipt to the man. "Here you. Is there anything else I can do to help, sir?" You waved him away with the man. Dismissively, "No, just avoid scratching." "What comes next?" As the wealthy man returned to his, Keanu reached into the pocket of his jacket and took out a tiny wallet to see how much. He asked Mike for his fuel, and Mike blinked. Unexpectedly, "Sir, it has already been paid for." Keanu gestured to the wealthy man. The rich man added to my total." After hearing this, it turned. "What are you doing?" he said harshly. "Don't require alms from people like you." Keanu grinned. "Gently, it's a gesture rather than charity." "Of generosity," and the man gazed at him, momentarily stunned before he could reply from a young lady who had been standing close by, gasping and waiting. The second is the whisper of Keanu Reeves, spread swiftly as more people became aware of. "Oh my God," someone said. Phones emerged, cameras swung, and the atmosphere drastically changed. With the rich, the man's face went white as he realized that he had been making fun of among the most revered and adored actors worldwide, a man renowned for his Keanu's generosity and humility ever modestly extended a hand to the expanding "Please, crowd, I'm only here to fill up my tank," he remarked, laughing softly, yet his common compassion had already made the gas left a lasting effect. The atmosphere of the station had entirely transformed the formerly self-assured and arrogant rich. Now, the man stood clumsily by his sports, his previous haughtiness dissipating as understanding who he had been. The global mockery of Keanu Reeves, figure renowned for his benevolence and humility, remained silent as they finished up at the pump. His transaction, as though it were normal, had yet occurred. The energy surrounding him was unquestionably. The crowd's murmurs expanded. Louder. "It's him, someone. I can't believe he's here," I muttered. "You've gently made there." Keanu stood that day, dismissing the as though it were inconsequential. "It's the," he added, "little things that matter more to himself than to everyone else." The wealthy man watched this as well. Relationship with his prior defensiveness declining into sincere contemplation. For the first time in ages, he felt something sparked a longing within of him too. He looked at Keanu and changed to be better, who was now having a friendly conversation with the expanding crowd, and experienced a pang of remorse for his prior. The way the wealthy man stood clumsily by his vehicle while observing Keanu Reeves' interactions, each person in the crowd with ease. He smiled as he said goodbye, appreciation for him increasing with each. The man couldn't help but experience intense shame while performing his previous statements in his mind. The sarcastic tone, the haughtiness of it all appeared so trivial now. Keanu proceeded to divert attention politely when someone requested he smiled kindly and obliged with a selfie, ensuring that the younger generation is included. "Mike, the attendant in the picture, you are the," Keanu told Mike. "This is a real star," giving him a pat on the Mike's hot face moved to his shoulder, but he couldn't conceal the smile that appeared. The wealthy man hesitated, his face, then inhaled deeply before going up to. By clearing his throat, Keanu was able to stutter, "Mr. Reeves, may I speak?" Keanu turned to face him, and his face was naturally, he is cool and collected as usual, remarked, taking a small step back from the crowd to offer them some private space, and the man shifted around with his watch as they struggled to find the appropriate words. "He started the way I did, therefore I owe you an apology. When we chatted previously, it was entirely inappropriate. I had no idea who you were, and I suppose that I let my presumptions to get the better of me." Keanu gently nodded his. "Keep your eyes steady." "I'm grateful that," he said. "Yet what matters is not who I am. Is how we handle individuals regardless of their status." The man flinched his thoughts were reliving the behavior like a poor film. "You're correct." He acknowledged that I spent so much time pursuing achievement that I neglected what matters most, considering how with everything, I've come to the realization I must alter. Keanu's facial expression tempered the reality that you're prepared to. He said, "We all admit that says a lot. Possess space to expand." As the man took in Keanu's remarks, the young lad from before came over, hesitantly clutching the Keanu keychain. Had handed him Mr. Reeves, he inquired quietly. Keanu lowered himself to look into the boy's eyes. "What's up, buddy?" The boy paused. "Can you autograph this?" I've held out the keychain. "I wish to keep it." Keanu grinned forever and accepted taking a pen out of his jacket with his keychain pocket, saying, "Remember," as he signed it, "being nice is what really makes you cool." The boy's smile stretched from ear to ear, holding the keychain in a treasure-like manner. Keanu's mother, standing close by, gave him a thankful nod. The wealthy man observed this interaction with a tightness of his chest, a mix of admiration and shame. He was unable to recall when he had made someone experience that type of happiness. He turned to Keanu, his voice now more subdued. He said, "Thank you, not only for your forgiveness, but for teaching me what true success looks like." Keane appears to have stood in front of the Mank. "Look, there's always time to make a change." Stated that sometimes just one. A moment to observe. The man nodded his head in a different way, rushing with ideas about what he could accomplish. Better way for him to compensate for he provided care for others in the past. As the conversation came to a finish, the audience started to scatter, some people returning to, others lingering to share their autos. Their astonishment upon encountering Keanu Reeves. The wealthy man waited by his vehicle for observing for a moment longer as Keanu came back, for the first time in his life, to his motorbike. For a while, the man sensed a glimmer of something new. Keanu's humility, as though he could sense the man's thoughts, turned back and looked at him. Tiny wave prior to donning his helmet. His motorcycle's engine growled to lives, as well as giving Mike and he drove away the remaining onlookers. The wealthy man vanished down the street, released a deep breath, feeling as if he had recently had an experience. Around him, the petrol station was transforming his life. Went back to its typical hum, although he was aware that would depart from that location as a new person compared to his initial arrival. Rich and conceited, he stood by his sleek, observing a sports car as Keanu's. The motorbike vanished down the street. The engine's roar subsided, but the effects of their meeting persisted. Examine the area surrounding the petrol station where now the environment was serene and thoughtful. The audience had scattered, but a feeling of something still remarkable dangled in the Mike, the youthful petrol station worker, carefully approached with a receipt in hand. "Your car is ready, sir," he said in his hand. Stated courteously, but there was a hint of newly discovered self-assurance following his conversation with the wealthy Keanu. Gazed at Mike, paying close attention to him for his uniform was creased for the first time. His hands were a little cold, but his face possessed an unquestionable many thanks to Mike, the man said, thrown aback by the Mike blinked in sincerity as he spoke, unaccustomed to being confronted with surprise. "Like, you're welcome, sir," he said with respect, moving aside to let the man to depart. However, the man remained motionless instead of hesitated, thoughts whirling in his mind. He recalled what Keanu had said about what counts is how we handle individuals regardless of the man standing for years, determined his value based on his material achievements, given the size of his vehicle and the price of his fit the authority he held in business. However, there was a worldwide superstar here who had every cause to take pride in their selection, rather to live a life of grace and humility. The man hesitated before turning back to Mike. "How long have you been before you speak?" Mike, who works here, was taken aback by the query was addressed. Reluctantly, "Well, for the past 2 years, sir, and do you like it, Mike?" He shrugged. "To be honest, it's a job, sir, and it pays the expenses I'm putting aside for something better yet. I aim to eventually own my..." The man nodded at his own repair shop, considerably impressed by Mike's ambition. He initially noticed a young attendant, not as a subordinate him, but as someone who works hard and strives to fulfill his dreams in the same way that he had already completed. The man took out his money and took out a clean bill and gave it to "Here," Mike stated that for the service. Mike's his eyes grew wide when he saw how much. "Sir, this is excessive," he objected. The man insisted his tone couldn't handle it. "Kind but tough, and never give up on people like you who work at that repair company are. Mike, what keeps the world going?" Paused before accepting the cash with a nod of gratitude. "Sir, I won't forget about this." The man gave a tiny, this time, give a sincere smile and get beneath his. As he turned on the engine, he noticed a self-portrait in the rearview mirror. For the first time, he didn't see the mirror. He was always a strong businessman. When he saw someone reflected onto the globe, someone who could do it better, change things. As he left the petrol station in his car, the man was unable to get rid of the sensation that this interaction had been a pivotal moment. Keanu Reeves had not at one time in his life just was polite to him. He had shown him an alternative approach to being a guy, decided on the spot to live with greater humility, to show people honor, and to utilize his accomplishments to inspire individuals in his vicinity. The buzz of his vehicle's engine filled the quiet, yet he had realized that his thoughts were louder. Petrol station, anticipating a standard visit, but he was taking a lesson with him that would remain with him indefinitely. A few days after, the wealthy man ended up sitting at his workstation, gazing out the expansive windows with glass that looked out over the city skyline, the cacophony of the busy the commercial world seems far away as he recreated the interaction at the petrol station. Keanu's words reverberated in his head. Obviously, how we treat others is what counts. Individuals irrespective of their social standing. He was thinking deeply as he leaned back in his chair. His life had been centered around achievement, prestige, and authority, but it was the first time he felt empty. Couldn't overlook how he had handled individuals, including the youthful petrol station. He was terribly burdened by attendant Mike. In an attempt to improve things, he grabbed his phone and called Janet, his assistant. He firmly said, "Give me the specifics of. We made a couple stops at one petrol station. I needed to find someone a few days ago who works there." Later that day, the wealthy man reached the service stop where Mike was occupied with cleaning the young pumps. Unexpectedly, the man looked up in surprise to see the same client who previously insulted him only a few days before. When he got out of his car, his attitude distinct and more tranquil. The man said, "Humbler Mike," extending his. "I want to apologize for not being fair. You deserve better. I told you the other day." Mike was taken by surprise and rattled his hand. He said softly, "Thank you, sir," cautiously. "I'm not sure how to interpret the circumstance." The man grinned. "I've been considering what you mentioned regarding your desire to own a repair business. I'd like to assist you in realizing that dream." Mike's eyes went wide with surprise. "Wait, what? Are you sure?" The man nodded. "And I have the assets, and I want to make an investment in someone who is prepared to put in a lot of effort for their objectives. Think of it as my method of creating." Corrects the man's gesture, which spread swiftly and shortly before Mike's. There was a lot of enthusiasm in the small town. Headlines in the local newspaper about the unanticipated act of kindness, and the tale even appeared on social media. Keanu teaches a wealthy man a lesson. One post was viewed by Reeves and pay it forward, obtaining thousands of shares and likes. However, the wealthy man didn't care about the acknowledgement. It was about doing what he had learned how to leverage his position from Keanu to encourage others rather than stare down on them each time he considered he had learned a lesson at the petrol station. He experienced a peace he had never experienced before. Months later, the man was given it was a handwritten letter in the mail from Mike, who had established his own repair shop with the assistance of the man. "Thank you. I appreciate your faith in me when I didn't have faith in myself," the letter said. "Be sure to reciprocate this generosity, similar to how you and Mr. Reeves handled." The man grinned while reading the heartfelt letter. He felt lighter than he had in years. Discovered that what had begun as an accidental meeting at a petrol station has become a positive knock-on impact, demonstrating that the tiniest acts might have a long-lasting influence on Keanu Reeves. He added his life with the utmost humility and ignorance of the significant transformation he had sparked in a total stranger, but maybe that was his greatest gift to the world, demonstrating that true greatness is not found in fame or fortune, also in the way we interact with those around us.